Good morning.
Is it time to start the morning show?
It is.
Okay.
It is. So yeah, it's we have this conversation all the time and we're like toying this morning. It's like, okay, we're toying with the idea of being a little later. Well, we happen to be in Mountain Standard Time, which means I don't wake up with an alarm clock. Have we talked about this before?
I feel like you talk about it. Yeah.
Wait, yeah. Obviously, I'm beating something that I've brought up before. So,
Yeah.
Happy to be here though. And Jim got up this morning. We'd left the French press over at my daughter's house yesterday, so he got up and went to McDonald's to buy us some coffee because we had nothing here.
Because we have a problem.
We have an
addiction.
addiction to caffeine.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that doesn't we don't start well. Good morning, everybody.
I hope everybody had
Tommy
a wonderful Christmas. Tommy's out there. Bill Elizondo. Good morning.
Bill and Bill loved the Christmas suit.
Didn't see that.
Spot on. He's got one of those suits that's like green and it has Christmas stuff all over it.
Oh, nice.
I mean, it's like a suit. And I was like, that is festive. And I loved it. It made me
Wish you
would have
brought a picture of it to the show.
I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. So good morning. I hope everyone had a great holiday weekend. It was really nice.
Yeah,
pretty low key,
Mm-hmm.
but really nice. Lots of playing games and doing the, that kind of stuff, and went over to my mom's house and made lunch.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really dinner. It was more Christmas lunch at her place. And so good stuff. So we have one last week of 2023.
I'm really kind of already in the new year.
We're going into 2023. You what?
I'm kind of already in a new year. Like for me, the last couple of seasons, I can say that I have started to view the winter solstice as really the kickoff of the new year. Now, I know that's not the number your CPA or the IRS uses.
Well, it's really the official first day of winter, isn't it?
Yes. And it's also the start of a new, what do you want to call it? An astrological year, lunar year.
Cycle.
Which is cycle. Yeah. So it's basically, to me, it's more representative of a change in the seasons, a change in the year. So that's why, to me, it's like we're already kind of in a new shift.
Yeah.
But again, for the IRS, and all those folks, it's December 31, your calendar year, that's what they're going off. So this last week of the calendar year,
he's been contemplating and he's been thinking about just lots of things like what do we want to
working ahead to shift and the schedule for 23 and what will be different for us. And so I'm kind of bringing that whole mindset to the conversation today, where dealers are concerned, is like, what needs to happen at the close of the year here to make sure that we're better positioned going into 2023 to make the business different.
Yeah.
Like, what can we do? There are some very specific things I'm going to recommend today that we can do to close the year to at least give us the opportunity to make some financial shifts, whatever, going into, the start of next year.
We talk an awful lot, you see everywhere, social media and all that, of, coming up to the new year. It's time for goals. It's time for, it's the time, it's the time for all shifts. We were actually talking about, okay, so we need to go back to the gym, and we both have done the gym thing where it's been like year round. And that first month of a new year is like, let's skip it.
There's so many
because there's so many
with the
people.
New Year's resolutions.
And then they're done by February. They're done.
Yeah. So I don't love the idea of going to the gym at the start of the year with everybody else and fighting for the treadmills and that whole thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't interest me. So
before we get into the topic though, there's a couple of announcements, but we can talk about the other ones.
Yeah.
We didn't say anything to all of our listener family out there until after we had told the family here that for 2023, Utah's going to be our home base. There's a lot of reasons behind that. So we still have stuff happening in Florida, and we anticipate, we'll be back there and visiting when it's like I need a beach. We need to go. But so Utah's going to be our home base, and sorry, I tap an awful lot. It drives Jim nuts.
Bang the table.
One of the reasons is our youngest is getting married. Yeah. So she's getting married early fall. And so she's like, Mom, can you be around? So we're gonna do that. Okay. So yeah, just so everybody knows. So this whole getting up early thing, we better figure out how to get our crap together so that it's not painful or something.
We're working on making that adjustment. So a couple quick things on Wednesday. We've got a special episode we can ask you to tune into. We've got some important things to talk about around unity in the industry on our Wet Hat Wednesday.
Oh yeah.
So make sure you join us if you can on Wednesday and catch it out.
Yeah, we were gonna kind of do that for today, but then it was like, let's wait till Wednesday because there was a lot of things that
we've got some ideas on how to put unity in our industry on a faster track.
On a faster track, and it's just it's exciting stuff, and it's really it's going to be beautiful.
Again, that's Wednesday, and then Thursday night we have our webinar. So remember that we've got Terry McCauley, David Norton, Jason Goodman, Maggie Bagesic are going to help dealers think about new ways, offer new tips on how to better convert those web leads into appointments, get them in the building. And so that'll be part of the conversation.
And if you listened to we had Maggie on this last Friday, and just kind of some of the stuff that she, we didn't really dive deep into exactly what it is that all the different steps, but we kind of talked about this is the recordings that we listened to were it was about that. And it was, how do you go from shifting from something that is potentially painful and not converting at all to something that is more easy for your team to be able to get through or not get through, but to roll through and convert more of those leads into actual appointments on the lot. So
that'll be good.
Yeah, a lot of people struggle.
And then on Friday we have our 100th episode celebration.
We already have so many people coming for that. Yeah.
So tune in for that.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
It'll be fun. A lot of our guests for the calendar year 2022 will be joining us on Friday.
And then I'm going to go a little bit forward. The following Friday, because we're going to do the first Friday of every month will be an NIADA check-in. And so the next Friday, we will have Jeremy Beck will be our regular, and then Christina, I can't remember.
Oh, it's you're talking about Melanie Wilson, the new.
Why am I thinking Christina?
I'm not sure where that's.
Who's Christina?
I
had a dream.
I know a number of Christinas.
Melanie, which I'm really excited about. Having a woman that's that is a step to come in and do that. So I'm looking forward to that. So she'll be joining us as well. And it's like we want to have her on, and we had to go through and talk to a lot of different people. It's like, okay, let's make sure it's on her schedule and all of that. So we're looking forward to having her on. It'll be good. So,
absolutely.
All right.
Looking forward to meeting her. So quick pivot here on our subject, which is
closing.
Well, how to close the year. Some things to think about as you go into closing the year and how to better position yourself. And I think maybe the thing that I would ask our dealer listeners to think about is how to view your business through the lens of an investor, either a would-be investor, a bank, who would be your bank, or who is your bank, and how do they view your business? So in my years of being a dealer and working with financials and working with banks and investors, I can just tell you that if you think of it in that way, I think what they want to see as much as anything, they want to see you as a dealer be on top of your numbers,
yes. Capital. Yeah.
So they want to see you in command of your business and know your business and know, all the workings of the numbers. And so I think to kind of follow on to the conversation that we had in Austin when Amanda joined me in that session on how to tie, reconciling receivables to cash, how to, tie your financials to your performance reports. I think that's the big thing I would ask dealers to think about going into next year is what steps can we take to make sure that we're better positioned to track all the stuff. And so if you're a 20 group member, it would be my wish for every dealer out there that, for example, your performance reports, which are not the same as your 20 group reports. I'm saying there can be performance reports that you might want to track yourself, that you're not in your 20 group composite. But I would say your performance reports ought to tie to your 20 group composite, which ought to tie to your financials. If you're not a 20 group member, then it's that much simpler. But it's like those things ought to all match up. Like, and if they don't, why wouldn't they?
And those
like,
of you who missed the address with Amanda, I mean, it really was, there are pretty big pieces that a lot of dealers, especially when, we hear from Amanda too, is when she brings on a new client, she asks like some very pointed questions. Do you do this? Do you do this? Do you do this? So she gets kind of a feel. And this reconciling is one of those things that she's like, oh, that's like a must do.
Yeah. And we've been working with that through some working through that with some clients in recent weeks. And even with good software, this can be pretty challenging. So let me talk about, when you think about reconciling your receivables to cash, it's just, there are two reasons I'm going to recommend you do that. One, you got to identify theft. You got to make sure you don't have some theft going on. You can identify all the dollars, but also identifying all the dollars is so you know what bucket they belong in, so you can better track your performance.
For that
you got to know what dollars are going where, so you can measure your performance. So that to me is about starting with reconciling principal, which you've heard me working with some clients on that very closely. We're trying to first reconcile principal because it doesn't make sense. I mean, that's the largest asset in our business. We want to make sure we know how those dollars move in and out of that portfolio. And the dollars that move out of the portfolio, we want to make sure they end up in the bank. Obviously, you got charge-offs and write-downs to think about to leave your portfolio, but otherwise, we should make sure that all the dollars that we show, got adjusted in the portfolio made it into the bank. Start with principal and then go to your other dollars. You're also going to collect interest income. You're going to collect late fees and this and that. Reconcile all that. Make sure that it all is in the bank, because again, we got a good process. Doesn't have to be a huge undertaking. It really doesn't. It's about templatizing a lot of this stuff. And at the close of the month, we just verify somebody matches those things to the bank records and make sure that, we've got all those dollars where they're supposed to be, or that they're accounted for. There will be dollars that get adjusted here and there that aren't necessarily going in the bank, but there's a clear record of that, and we can clearly identify that. So that would be my suggestion going into close of the year, is make sure we first just lock down all the balances, that we've got all the balances identified, which most of us would be doing that anyway, creating receivables report. But now that positions us to create reports going into 23 that will allow us to better reconcile the stuff. And so if if you haven't been doing it up to now, it's probably not necessary to go backwards too far.
Just get a good snapshot of where we're at right now, and then measure from this time going forward.
Yeah. So make sure you can track your own performance. And even if your bank's not concerned about it, we should still be concerned about, the health of our business and our performance, right? And performance of that portfolio.
Well, and it's interesting to me as we've, since I joined the company, how many dealers out there are considering, all right, so I've been doing this for 20, 30 years, and I don't want to do this forever. And so what do I do? And, is someone going to step in? And am I going to sell the business? Am I going to sell the assets? That seems to be, to me, a question that's coming up more and more and more, or that at least that I've noticed. And this whole idea around, making the financials are a huge part of what make you look appealing or unappealing too. To like an investor or things, and then if you're planning on leaving, making sure that those things, everything, that you've got a good baseline and that you're tracking things, because if you're turning it over to a family member, it's a good idea for them to have a really good grasp on those things, and so that it's like it's clean. So there's a shift coming in, but it's just been interesting to me how we've been talking to more and more dealers that are like, they're stepping into that, and their financials are a huge part of that. The getting out
Sure.
or shifting into, this is going to be more of a family affair or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, for me, I look at financials and we talk about that. How does a bank view my business? Banks and investors tend to look at your business through the financials, profit and loss, balance sheet. Dealers tend to look at it more from a cash flow statement. And, the cash flow statement that comes out of QuickBooks is pretty useless to most dealers. Like, it doesn't really address the thing. I'm really talking, when I say cash flow, I'm talking about, are we enjoying positive cash? Yes or no? How would you know? Well, what's your incoming cash from all sources minus overhead minus the cost of replacing inventory? Are we going positive in that number? Or are we going negative? And if we're not as positive as we want to be, then how do we get there? What are the steps that we would need to take? And 2023 is a great time for growth for a lot of dealers out there.
Oh,
This will be a
yeah.
good period of growth for especially smaller dealers. We've been talking, I think it was Brent Carmichael who shared with us a lot of the smaller dealers, like 5 million portfolios and under, that they're all looking to grow. For the most part, the attitude amongst the smaller dealers is I'm positioning myself to grow. And that's wonderful. We think there's a
It's
great
a good
opportunity.
year to be able to do that.
It should be an excellent year for that. But it's like growth toward what? Like, it's like, what are we growing for the sake of building our portfolio? And what does that really do for us? Is it going to translate into positive cash flow? Is that the objective? Like, I just think these are things that we need to have our hands around the numbers, so we can really very precisely month over month look at the numbers and know exactly what's happening with our
Well,
cash.
and that's actually, it kind of flows a little bit into a little bit of a broader type of topic, but it's a piece of the broader topic. And that's, again, something that we talk to a lot of the dealers we work with is that if you can't measure it or you're not measuring it, then, I mean, there's no use in just going gut on a lot of, that it's like, if are we good? Are we measuring, like converting the leads, like all of these different things? So I mean, having that baseline, having where you're starting to measure, then you can say, all right, this is not working as well. We see dealers an awful lot that will try new things to try to shift different pieces of their business. And if they're not measuring, we say, well, has it helped? Well, I think so.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how do you know if it's helped? Well, I think so because we're getting more of this or this. And it's like, but are you getting more sales?
Yeah.
Getting more.
And even if you're getting more sales, it translates into more cash flow. It's like,
Yeah.
because obviously if you sell a lot, you go negative on cash for a time potentially. And so this is why I find that in the conversation, I would love to have more dealers. When you say, did we have a good month? Yeah, we had a good month. We sold 25 cars, whatever the numbers sound like.
Okay.
It's like, is that really the measurement that we need to be going off of? Is that how we measure a good month? Like, a good month in my mind would be positive cash flow. And obviously that moves with sales volume. If we have a large, sales month, then we're going to go more negative on replacing inventory or whatever. But that to me is what I think. And this is what we always start with. And everybody's got different objectives, right? Everybody's business strategy is different. And there's lots of different business models, different approaches in buy here, pay here. Generally, I've always said they kind of fall into two categories. We're either focused on cash flow or focused on equity. Kind of one of those two camps. But if you're focused on cash flow in the way that we recommend, especially when you're newer, then that's what we really need to think about. Of course, sales help us grow our portfolio, help us grow our cash flow. But it's really, like, I'm really suggesting dealers do the best they can to make sure that they can see a cash flow statement at the close of the month. They can identify all the changes in receivables. They can identify the changes in their bank accounts, and they can say, we had a good month based on what happened to our bank balances. So that's really kind of what I'm really loosely suggesting that we do here. And that starts by getting into make sure you lock down all the balances that you know exactly where you ended the year. And then that also positions you to start doing some of the things that we talk about in terms of tracking collection efficiency. This is a separate subject. We'll try to, and you can go back and find some of our episodes on collection efficiency, and some of our stuff out there on the Institute talks about how to measure collection efficiency. Some software is better than others on this, but basically we're just suggesting, know where you start, know what you're contractually expected to bring in, then come back and measure how did we actually do. And then that's pretty much on a weekly basis on the collection efficiency. And then on the monthly basis, obviously, we're looking at bank statements and financials and making sure all those things tie together nicely. And so that's one of the things I would just wish for dealers out there as they step in the new year, is that dealers would be in a position where when they close each month, they've got a really good grasp of all the numbers and all the performance, right? So we're always working on that. We're always trying to help dealers.
Would you say, one of the other pieces, and I think it was Darla that told us that one of the things that she uses for measuring the performance and all of that would be you double what it is that is your charge off.
Yeah, I don't think that was Darla. I mean, we talked about that in a couple different contexts,
okay.
but you got some stuff to clean up in the chat there. So, anyway, the thing to know is that that's Ken Shilson, I think, who has always talked about, double your charge-offs and then come back and measure,
Yeah.
So as you forecast, just ask yourself, what does it look like for your bank or your investor or for you personally? If your charge-offs doubled, month over month, year over year, what does that look like for what's the outlook now on your business? How does your performance track? How does that make your receivables look going forward, your cash flow look going forward, and make sure that you can withstand that. So I think the way Ken Shilson says is double your charge-offs and then look forward and see, are you still in business? And
it's
because
a good measuring stick to like, this is where we need to just be taking a look.
And it's also a year that I think people are going to have to weather some storms. I mean, we're going to be facing more charge-offs. It looks like, at least from a severity standpoint, you're probably going to be seeing more charge-offs in 23. And so how much of that can we afford? Can we stand and still survive that, make the turn on some of that? But, so go ahead.
No,
I thought you had some. So I think the other parts would just be, those things about, as we step in a new year, we would recommend doing, those of you not familiar with a SWOT analysis, we would recommend you make time
besides the numbers part.
To really look at your organizational chart. Where are we at in terms of personnel? What do we need in terms of what are our gaps?
We've talked about that a few times too, as
So
how valuable that can be.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar, SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's kind of gotten to be a popular tool to use in management and analysis.
We're actually going to be moving into our own SWOT for the end of the year this week too. So
I'm the weakness. She's the strength.
I'm the threat.
The threat. Yeah. No, we definitely, use our own teachings on that. We practice what we preach. And so we definitely will, be updating that going forward and making sure that we're, as a company, well positioned. But we would obviously recommend dealers do the same thing. So do that analysis of your business. What are the opportunities?
Check your numbers.
It's a good idea to have somebody look from the outside. Doesn't have to be us. Of course, it can be, can be a trusted advisor, get somebody to come in and get an assessment of your operation, make sure that you've got a good look from outside. Because almost every time we do a SWOT analysis with a dealer, we prepare the list and we ask them to give us all the stuff, and we put them in all the different buckets. And then we typically add some to the.
It's because we've been there for a little bit and we've been watching and we've been looking, and it's like, oh, well, here's some of the things that we've observed. And they usually go, oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't. I
don't see that about themselves because they're too close to it, and so that's why it's important to have somebody from outside. But that's one thing, the gap analysis. So gap is really just identifying, where do we have, like in this organizational chart, where do we currently have overlap or gaps where things are, are being neglected, or otherwise not performing as well, just because we're short on personnel. We have gaps here, or maybe it's not personnel, it's maybe other resources. So those are things also as we go into the new year where we really got a chance to do some good things. And I would just throw out one last thing as it comes to the thing about setting goals. And, I'm not a big fan of the word goals, just because I find that it's used too often in a context where, especially when you think about it in the context of New Year's resolutions. If you traditionally have been a person who set New Year's resolutions and you called it a goal and you didn't achieve it, if you traditionally have set goals, use the word goals, and then you fell short of those goals again and again, then the word goal can have kind of a negative thing. And so I would prefer to take it in bite-sized pieces. I often use the word initiatives or whatever. It's like, or objectives, whatever you choose, but just maybe get away from the vernacular of goals and think about setting short-term objectives, and you achieve those and you move on to the next objective. Because I think that if we have historically not met goals, or we consistently fall short of goals, then goals can carry a certain weight, or a certain amount of anxiety that can be internal. But I'm just simply saying, let's set targets that we can and will achieve. Then we feel better. And we move on to the next one.
Again, wrapping, or, circling back is that it's hard to set targets if you don't know where you stand too.
Yeah.
So like, do that, do an analysis. This is where we stand on the numbers, on all of the things. And then you can bite size and move it forward. But the key for me is that, like I don't enjoy goals either, but when I have certain big objectives, it's like this year I'm going to be working on this and this and this, is that there are check-ins frequently with targets or whatever, and that I celebrate the small things. I celebrate the stuff that is just a little incremental moving forward towards something that's a grander vision. But I usually don't like to put a date on it.
Yeah.
It's like I'm moving towards a thing, and it might happen in 3 months. It might happen in 18, but this is where I'm working.
And I think, people have heard us talk about this enough, but I think part of the other way that you have a higher chance of achieving those objectives, targets, is when you have the larger grand vision is super clear. You know where you need to end up. You know where you plan to end up. And so that's why, this whole thing about goals and planning, it's like, set a plan, get clear about it. And then all the little targets that you set in between, you can celebrate those. And there's a stair step toward your larger objective.
And that's like kind of one of the things that we do with a lot of our clients is asking, what do you want? Let's get real clear about that. And then we set a baseline, and then we, make incremental whatever. And it's if you are really clear about where it is you want to go, what that looks like, what that feels like, what that smells like, what that sounds like, what that just keep your eye there, and then just every time something comes to you, it's like, does that get me closer to this thing that I want to do? Yes or no?
Yeah. And it's interesting. It's coming at a time that you and I are kind of in this pivot with our own. We'll always do some coaching. That's just part of, what we have done. And we'll always do some level of coaching. But as we kind of pivot in our own business, I think, I would just say that whether I would recommend you find a coach who can challenge you in your business. And it might not be a buyer payer specialist. It doesn't have to be for the parts that I'm talking about, but it's really about having somebody who can help you learn how to clear away the obstacles. It's like, and teach you how to do it, not clear them for you, but teach you, if this is what I want my business to look like in 3 years, this is what I want my personal life to, this is how I want that to all fit together. And this is really what I can get super clear about. This is what I expect to create. Well, then it just becomes a way to, so what are the barriers? What are the obstacles? How do we clear those? And when we can learn how to do that, then you can now take steps toward achieving that thing, whatever that thing looks like for you.
Yeah.
If we could just say, okay, why wouldn't what you just described to me as what you want your business and your life to look like in 3 years? Why would that not be possible? If it is possible, if we can agree that that's entirely possible and within your grasp, then how do you go about clearing the obstacles between here and there, the barriers, and how do you to realize what you visualize? Okay. So that's the part that I think, find a coach who can help you do that. So important to you. And you can absolutely create
coach,
the kind
a mentor, somebody, because it's like that whole thing. When we go in and we do a SWOT analysis, we're there as an outside observer. And so we're not in the muck and the things that go on every day. So we can see things a little bit differently. And we've had a coach Yeah, and that has been, we were actually just talking about that this weekend, is about how instrumental Nancy has been to us with a lot of the things that we've been moving forward to doing. And we were, talking about, hey, we happen to be in Utah and we should, reach out and.
No, for sure. It's like, it's good to have that outside perspective, because sometimes you're too close to it and you don't see the opportunities that are maybe right there in front of you. So sometimes it's that, sometimes it's just getting clear about sometimes it's just making time to work on your business, getting away from the rat race that is, running a business.
And if you want to look out, right, finding time, that was September. Was it September or was it August? Yeah, we did the Management Mondays, and it was talking about freeing up time to be able to work on your business instead of just always in your business, even if it's just an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a week, whatever.
Yeah, we're going to be doing some of that this week as we close out the year. So we would urge you to find time to do the same, even if it can't be this week.
If you want to, so numbers, like, just make sure you've got a good baseline, even if you're having to go like, this is a snapshot of where we're at right now. We're going to move forward and be tracking things a little bit differently or a little bit closely. So numbers, doing a SWOT analysis, really good idea to just kind of look over your business. I would encourage you, those of you who have a partner that is even in the wings associated with your business, life partner, whatever, is that I would suggest, because it's important to be able to get their insight on what are the things that they really want to be able to see for you and for them and for, the team, all of that. And then if you're looking for, we talk about keeping your eye on the prize and, getting really clear about what it is that you want. I've pitched this book before and I will pitch it again. Atomic Habits is a really great book for just small incremental changes that you can make and stacking different things that you typically do every day. And it can make a world of difference in a year, 2 years, 5 years. And so, you get something where it's just now a habit, and then you can attack the next one. How is that going to help me get to the thing that I want to be able to do? So
we can probably wrap up there. I would remind people to circle on your calendar. March 30th, we'll be releasing information about that in the coming weeks. That's going to be a really important day.
It's going to be so good.
Yeah, that's going to be an important day for the industry.
Well, and I think I want to say it again, because I'm just like, this is awesome, is that we're pulling people from all over the industry to be participants in different panels in this event. And so we've so far gotten yes from 4 different 20 group moderators, and there's a couple that we're still waiting on. And so it's like all of the people, all of the things at the table to talk about. Yeah, this is the stuff. This is these are the things that we're seeing. These are the things that So I'm like super excited about that. That's going to be a great thing. So March 30th, and we will be doing it in a studio.
That's important to her for some reason.
I'm kind of excited about that. That'll be pretty fun. So, alrighty. So have yourselves a great rest of your day. Enjoy your last week of 2022. Let's put this week out, finish it up with actually ease, but being open to, I have a lot of friends that say, don't do it in a bang. Enjoy your rest of your year. Don't try to push to get all the goals that you didn't get accomplished or whatever taken care of. But let's do what we can do to be able to bring in a new year and have a stronger, solid footing.
One of the things, just, as you close out your year and you think about what you want 2023 to be like, just you remember, you're going to want to tune into the morning show more frequently.
And
that's one of the things that belongs in your initiative.
Happening a little bit later.
Thanks for tuning in.
We really appreciate you all. Have a great rest of your day. All right, we'll talk to y'all later.